Can you really make money off of metal scrapping? This is something I'm trying to figure out as I explore the world of recycling and upcycling. As you all know, it's a goal of mine one day to have my own upcycling business, and now I'm exploring each of the items that we bring to recycling centers, such as metal, paper, plastic, or electronics. So, how much money can you make off metal scrapping? Let's find out. So I decided to do a little bit of research about the metal recycling industry. And I learned that metal is one of the most recyclable products because nearly all types can be recycled. So I looked up this website, Metals and Spares, and it talked about the types that are non recyclable. And the metal that is non recyclable is usually just items that have hazardous materials in them, like uranium, plutonium, lead, for instance. So you can recycle almost all types of metals: steel, aluminum, copper, brass, zinc, iron, tin, like you name it. But some metals are worth more than a little bit others. So I found this nice website, Metal Scrapping 101, a complete metal scrapper's guide, and it goes through the entire process, the entire metal recycling process. So you collect it, it needs to be separated. And I learned that there are two types of metals: there's ferrous and there is non-ferrous. So what's the difference? Let me go back here. Ferrous metals are magnetic and the non-ferrous are non-magnetic. And I thought that the ferrous would be worth more. It turns out the non-ferrous pieces are usually worth a little bit more, like aluminum, copper. I was told copper is one of the more valuable metals if you're going to be scrapping any. So let's go back to that website. Not that website, this website. So if you're going to recycle, first you need to collect all your metals. You need to separate them according to type because you're going to get the most money by doing so. And whenever it goes through the recycling process, it gets melted down, it gets purified, and then resolidified, and then sent out to manufacturers. So metal is actually very sustainable. The fact that it can be melted down and reused so many times makes it a very sustainable item. Sometimes I wonder why we can't just replace a lot of our plastic containers with metal ones, but I'm sure there are reasons, which I'll get into later. So can you make money bringing metal to a recycling facility or to a metal scrapping yard? Yes, you can, but you have to bring a very large amount of it. So I went through, I looked up, this again goes into ferrous and non-ferrous, so I looked up the prices. Copper is one of the most valuable ones. A lot of the others are not really worth the trouble, and aluminum is another one, the metal can. So unless you have large amounts of aluminum or you're scrapping, say, copper, you're probably not going to make a ton of money doing it. So I decided to look at prices. This is kind of a price overview. Brass and copper, as you can see, are usually worth the most. I was surprised steel wasn't worth more. I always assumed like steel and lead would be worth more, but no, aluminum is actually worth more. I think because it's more viable and more commonly used. But if you visit a website like Scrap Monster, it'll basically go over all of the prices for you, the average, the high price, the low price, to give you kind of a basic idea. And it's important to know this information if you plan on scrapping to make sure that you're getting the best price possible. So after I did that, I decided to look up a few metal scrapping areas or metal scrapping facilities in my area. I found McCoy Iron and Metal. And they break it down and make it very easy. They also have materials that are accepted, and they've separated them into the non-ferrous, which I covered, and the ferrous. And very important, if you're going to be scrapping metal, you need to know what they are not taking. So both of these websites covered those items. So concrete, aluminum forms, phone wire, street signs, sewer lids. I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's like if you brought it in, it would clearly be stolen property, like railroad property, sewer lids, guardrails, grocery carts. Like, I think the reason they don't accept these is to prevent people from stealing these items and just bringing them in for cash. I also looked up CMC, and CMC sponsors the Boys and Girls Club of Springfield, which I think is really great. They break down the pricing, payment guidelines, like up to $500 in cash payments. And I think you would need a very large amount of metal to make even that much money. So they don't accept hazardous materials, automobiles without a title, mercury, office machines, things that are questionable, dangerous, like flammable, which seems like it would be common knowledge, but these are some good guidelines to follow for a person who's doing this for the first time and doesn't quite know what they're doing. And then I decided to ask some of my friends who have done this. I'm like, hey, is it worth it? And most of them said, if you have large amounts of aluminum cans, it can be, but it's easier just to put it in the recycling bin. You're probably not going to make a lot of money doing it, for instance. But for me, I want to have my own upcycling business someday. It's my dream to have my own recycling, trash service, upcycling business. And if metal is one of the items that I'm collecting, it's good to know that I could bring it to a facility and make a little bit of money off of it, because you can't really do that with the paper, the plastic, the cardboard, and the glass items. The recycling process for those is not quite as sustainable as it is with metal. So hopefully one day I'll have my own business. I'll be doing my own upcycling. If you have experience with metal scrapping, please feel free to share your story in the comments section, and wish me luck on my journey of building my own recycling business someday. Thanks for watching.